Okay, I'm recording it. Do you see a recording thing on the top left of yours? Or
Let's see. Uh, I don't.
oh no, I'm saying I just hit record, so I think it's recording. Um,
Okay.
so
Okay.
all right,
Awesome.
I just hit go live.
Yes. Go live on the group, and then I'll
Yep.
approve it right now. So, alrighty. So let's see.
It's all right. I think it
Okay.
should
One
get in.
post. Yes, I got it. So let's go live. Oh my God, this is crazy.
This is. I feel
This
like
is.
we're like launching a
I
rocket
know.
right now.
Yeah. Exactly. Okay. Let's go live. Oh, I see myself. Oh my God. Okay. Great.
Yeah.
Okay. Approve. Okay, so hey guys, it's Eric from Founders Beta. We are live on Facebook for the first time on our Facebook group. So today I'm very excited. I'm chatting with Al from Coda, and Al is going to show us the product and going to give us lots of tips and tactics. So Al, how are things looking down there?
I'm good. I'm good. Thanks, Eric. Really excited to be here. So happy to be talking to all of you. And yeah, really excited just to show you what I'm working on and talking more about startups, product development, all that kind of stuff that you probably saw on the Eventbrite.
Awesome, great. And for our audience, if you have any questions for Al, please post them on the comment section, and we'll get to all the questions. And yeah, we have the document prepared, so you guys can tune in here. I'm gonna post it right now. So so yeah, so without further ado, let's get to it. So for the community members from Coda, if you haven't heard about Founders Beta, Founders Beta is the online community to connect with startup resources, co-founders, if you need beta testers, and we're all online. So most of our, all of our events are actually online. Yeah, so that's a bit of intro. But today we're gonna talk about product development and using Coda as a way to build your product, manage your team. And yeah, so Al, let's get started. So can you talk to me about your current role and Coda as well?
Yeah, sure. So I am a solutions architect at Coda. And what that means is I help our community of users build solutions that they want to basically use for their job or for their personal life. So it could be a workflow involving, managing a small CRM pipeline of clients they're trying to talk to. It could be managing a product roadmap for features they're trying to develop for their startup, or it could be something simple as scheduling things on their Google Calendar, and they want a quick way to add events to their personal Google Calendar. So part of my role is just find the problem that people are trying to solve and build a workflow in Coda. And another part of my role is just to work with different communities like Founders Beta to see how we can help the community with any issues that they're solving or trying to solve. And I have a really soft spot for working with startups because I used to have my own startup, multiple startups, and really enjoy kind of the hustle and the kind of just like really fast paced environment of trying to build something from scratch and getting it launched and making something. And I think Coda is a really great way to help you build that vision when you have so many things going on and you need one place to keep track of all your data, all your workflows, so on and so forth. So that's kind of what I do.
Awesome, great. And so tell us a little bit more about Coda. So
Yeah, sure. I might just share my screen really quick
sure.
and show the homepage if you haven't seen it before. This is what Coda looks like. The homepage is really meant to be very friendly, and we want to encourage people to encourage makers, those who are out there building a startup, making things to come and build something on the platform. It's the homepage kind of shows you what Coda looks like as a platform, and we'll get more into this more in the demo later. But a lot of big companies and small companies are using Coda, including Uber, and it's really one way to visualize your data much differently than Google Sheets or Google Docs. We try to combine all the best elements of spreadsheets, Word docs and PowerPoints, databases all in one surface for you to use. And our core mission statement is to help you to have you build docs that are as powerful as applications. And you can see here how this is actually what a doc could look like in Coda, where you're hitting buttons and buttons change things, and you have this whole workflow that allows you to do really interesting things that you couldn't really do before with a regular Google Doc or a spreadsheet. And just some other things about Coda is that you can connect it with a billion other, well, not a billion, but just many different applications you're using today, like Gmail, Google Calendar, Slack, GitHub, if you are a developer. And we're really proud to call some of these people our makers, because they're the ones inside their company or organization or startup that are really trying to build things that match their workflows instead of having the tool shape their workflow. And so Coda is really a blank kind of canvas that allows you to build these really amazing tools to streamline your processes. And yeah, that's kind of Coda in a nutshell. And I think I might also show this, let me see here, this other doc that I have. Here we go. So, oh yeah, and do you see my screen here, the
Yes.
Founders Beta? Okay, so this is the event website that you guys probably saw when you signed up. Just a quick note, use this link right here if you plan on signing up for Coda. It's coda.link/foundersbeta. The reason why I have this special link is because I've told my team that if you come through this link when you sign up through Coda, you'll get some extra love and support from our team
Awesome.
beyond just a regular user. So I will make sure to, if you come through this link, we're going to be like, hey, you came through Founders Beta, we're going to help you build what you need to do and give you a little bit priority, I guess, over others. So definitely sign up through this link.
Awesome.
Yeah. And so this is, I kind of walk through what Coda is a little bit. We're a pretty tight-knit team, about 45, 50 people spread across San Francisco and Seattle. And part of the reason why we're here is we see this way too often where you have your Google Chrome with like a billion different tabs for Google Sheets, Google Docs, maybe Google Presentations. And the long story short is that the spreadsheet hasn't really changed that much since 1979. This is VisiCalc, which was the first like spreadsheet back in the day. This is Google Sheets, which looks kind of the same, but it's much better UI, but it's still columns and rows. But the problem is a lot of startups are using Google Sheets to build like a CRM, a project management tool, a inventory tracker. But in reality, a spreadsheet was meant for financial professionals and accountants, and we think it's kind of silly that people are still using a spreadsheet to manage these really important workflows in their startups and businesses. And again, the mission is to create docs that are as powerful as applications. A few people that use Coda include Uber, Betterment, Intent, and they're using it for their own personal use cases. Uber, for instance, had hundreds of Google Sheets they were trying to consolidate into one thing, so they use Coda for that. Betterment was trying to launch new product features, and they were using Coda to track how they're launching them. And then Intent HQ was a small startup in the UK that was using Coda for managing their sales forecasting and reporting. And Spotify more for OKRs, which is objective and key results, which is for goal setting. And the quick demo, I'm going to show you a quick demo of Coda. It feels just like a Google Doc. It's probably going to be look and feel very similar to you. You can just write text here. Hi, we are live on Founders Beta. And you can make this big. You can add like a smiley face, smile. Like we really like using emojis. And you can embed videos here in the doc. This is like an intro video to Coda. And what's really cool is that you can organize all your disparate Google Docs into this left-hand side right here. These are called sections, but each section is almost like its individual Google Doc. So the next section is about tables and text. One of the big advantages of Coda is you can mix like all this regular text with your tables here. And so this table is a table of to-do things, to-do lists that you might have for your startup. But if I go over here and write the formula that you might be used to writing in Excel, you can write equals team to-do list, which is referencing this big list dot count. And so now when I look at this formula, it's counting all the different to-do list items in this table. And so now I can say, this is the number of to-dos for my team. And let's make this a little bigger. And if I add another task, this automatically changes to 9 and 10 and 11. So it's all very dynamic where you can have formulas that live outside of the table. And there's all kinds of different formulas you can write. This one's like the now formula, which shows you today's time. And I guess we can, do you want me to get into more of like this stuff too, Eric, or do you want to move on to the next?
Sure, keep going.
Okay.
Yeah.
One of the most powerful features in Coda is the fact that you can have multiple views of your data. So this is a little more advanced to-do list. You have like a status, you have who is it assigned to. This is great, but let's say you just want to see all your to-dos for your startup that are in progress. Imagine this list being like 100 rows long, and you have to sort by the status, and then in Google Sheets, you have to constantly sort and unsort to see the rows that really matter for you. Instead, you can create these views, which are kind of like copies of this main table, but you can filter the view just down to what you care about. So this is status equals in progress. And as you can imagine, it just shows the tasks that are in progress. And if I change this to in progress to done, it would just filter out of the, whoops, I refreshed back. And it will filter that row out of the view. I should have, there we go. And so now this changed it back to done, and now it's up here. And if I move something from done to in progress here in this master table, it will show up down here. And if I move one of these sliders, you notice how it changes in the view and in the master table. So this is a way where you can have multiple different views that are filtered and sorted and have their own specific columns. You can hide this column. And it's a much cleaner way to look at data that matters just for the development team versus the marketing team versus HR. Or you can filter it by other columns too. And it's a really easy way to see just the data that matters to you. But the data is all connected into one master table. This is one table that happens to be just all the completed items. This is, let's see here. You can also group along different columns. So I group along the left here. Now I can quickly see all the done tasks, the in progress tasks, the not started ones, so on and so forth. And there's also conditional formatting. So you can do things like this where if it's done, it's green. But if it's in progress, it's yellow. If it's red, it's not started, things like that. And another big feature is being able to view your data in different layouts. So I bet a lot of you people in startup land, I used Trello a lot when I first did my own startup. We did this kind of, it's called a Kanban board, but essentially it's like using Trello. And this is actually a way you can move your tasks from not started to in progress to done if you prefer that more Trello kind of view. Gantt charts are a pretty popular type of visualization for if you have multiple tasks that need to be like stacked one after the other. This is one way to look at the tasks for your startup. This happens to be color-coded by in progress, done, and not started. So I can see all the tasks that are done because they're green. And I can also move things that are in progress to the right, to the left. And you notice when I hover over the Gantt chart, I can actually view the entire detail of that Gantt chart, of that row. So this is kind of how you can use Coda for really advanced kind of project management workflows. You can have regular charts just like you have in Excel, but you can zoom in and look at things just like just the goals. Calendar view is also pretty popular. You can look at all your data on a calendar if there's a start date and end date, if you like that calendar view. And finally, we kind of talked about this when I showed you the homepage. You can use buttons to trigger other things to happen in your doc. So if I want to quickly add a new task to this table, I can click on this button. And now I have a new task. And if I want to mark this task as done, instead of clicking on this drop down and saying done, I can say mark as done, this button right here, and it would just change that row for me, and it kind of hides that button away. So this is a way to really make your doc super interactive. Uh, and finally, I talked a little bit about connecting your doc with other applications. This is really what really makes Coda really cool is you can connect things with with this feature called Packs, where you have Gmail, Google Calendar, Instagram, Slack, and it allows you to send an email from your Coda doc using data from your table. You can send a message to your team in Slack using data from your table. And so really popular workflow is people saying, hey, they'll Slack their teammates and say, can you give me an update on this task? Instead of having to manually write that and copy and paste and all that sort of stuff. So I know I've been talking a lot, and I definitely want Eric to stop me if I'm getting too talkative, because I can go on and on about
Right.
the Coda. Yep.
Awesome. Great. Well, that was a great overview. And for our audience that are just joining in right now, we're talking about product development and how to use Coda on your startup to improve your processes, operation, everything you can name it, really. And we have a special link on our site to sign up. So check that out. Okay, and we also put the questions. So we're going to continue talking about product development here. So Al, let's talk about some startups you built in the past, and maybe how did you come into actually wanting to build a startup?
Yeah, so just to give you some background, I used to work at Google, and I was a financial analyst, a sales analyst. I'm very much behind the scenes, building things in Excel, and I think I just started reading blogs about building a startup. So I just started building a few things. One of the first startups I worked on was this a physical product called Keycuts, and it was actually showing Excel keyboard shortcuts for the Mac on a rubber silicone keyboard cover. You can buy these at the store
Right,
to cover
right.
your keyboard to protect it from dirt and dust. I created one by talking to a bunch of manufacturers in China, and I literally sent a PowerPoint of what I wanted to build to this manufacturer,
Right.
and it was really simple. It was just a keyboard cover with the keyboard shortcut for copy and paste on the key itself. And it was my first time experimenting with using social media to promote my startup, my product.
Right.
And that interestingly turned into just that simple product turned into me doing consulting for a lot of people in Excel. I started teaching Excel to different people. And so it was one of those things where I thought it was a simple product, and it turned into a much bigger opportunity for me to get involved with all types of things related to Excel. And some of the things I still do today with that startup is I still teach and I write a bit about Excel on that website. And
Awesome.
yeah, some other startups that I've done, I built this influencer marketing platform to connect digital influencers, mostly bloggers and Instagrammers, with PR agencies
Right.
and companies, specifically in the travel and tourism space. That was called Cooperatize. That was definitely a much bigger startup, and I actually learned how to code a little bit and do web development. And
Amazing.
yeah, that was one of my better startup experiences, because I was, when you're the founder, which many of you are out there, sometimes you have to rely on a developer or a team to
Right.
help you build the startup. And for me, I always thought about, I don't want to have someone else be the bottleneck. So I learned how to do simple things in code myself, so that
Awesome.
I could actually make changes to the website and make changes to the platform and just do it really fast. And speed, as all of you know, is really important when you're doing your own startup.
Right. Awesome. And how did you go about learning a bit more about web development? Did you use any specific framework or anything you recommend?
Yeah, the very first framework I used was Ruby on Rails. And luckily, this was when I was at Google, and Google actually allowed me to expense the class. So that was lucky for me. But to be honest, most of my learning was done just looking online. And I'm so jealous of startup founders today. This was back in 2010.
Right.
I was constantly Googling for resources and learning how to code in Ruby. And today, there's probably so many free resources for people to
Right.
learn. One of the most popular ones I know about is Free Code Camp, that many
Right.
people use to learn how to code. And so Ruby on Rails was one of the first frameworks I learned for coding. And the way I learned was really just searching on Google, reading Stack Overflow, which is this website for posting questions about coding,
Right.
and yeah, just asking some of my friends who were actual developers or software engineers questions. And over time, I just kind of picked up little bits and pieces of knowledge and use it into my other startups.
Awesome, great. Yeah, I think those are wonderful tips, especially for all the non-technical founders on our community looking to, get out there and build that first product. So let's talk about like the first version of like, the product you want to work on. I see a lot of startups working on a product. What tips comes in mind to like, build that first, the MVP, everybody is like gets excited about that. You have something to show. What are some things that uh, comes to your mind in terms of for founders?
Yeah. So the short answer is there's no silver bullet. Give you an example, when I first created that keyboard cover product called KeyCuts, I literally used PowerPoint. There was no code. There was no
Right,
really advanced wireframing tool. I literally was drawing things in PowerPoint and I sent that to the manufacturer. So if you're building a physical product, you could probably just use PowerPoint to get things done. Uh,
right,
and then beyond that, I would definitely, when I was doing my other startups, using just free tools as much as possible, like Google Sheets or Coda, of course, to help you build a prototype.
right,
Interestingly, this one person in our community he's trying to build a mobile app. He's a developer, and he was actually building the prototype in Coda first to quickly show his
right,
friend, because in Coda you can have buttons, you can have a table of data, you can have graphs, and you can have just really anything. And he used Coda as a prototyping tool before he actually goes and develops the mobile app in iOS or in Swift or
right,
whatever. So using free tools as much as possible. There's so many free tools now in addition to Google Spreadsheets.
right,
There's um, Canva is a really good one to get images.
right.
There's another one, but there's one for wireframing that I like a lot, which allows you to kind of like, it's like PowerPoint, but when you click on buttons in the PowerPoint, it leads you to a new screen.
Oh, okay, nice.
Yeah, I forgot what it's called, but if I think about it, I'll let you guys know.
Right, sure.
And there's a huge movement right now I've noticed called the no code movement. So for those of you who are non-technical founders, there's a few websites like no. Actually, let me just share my screen and
Sure.
show you some of these websites that I've come across. So like no code MVP. Um, these are all kind of like programs, I suppose you can classes you can take. It's like no code of MP. No code
Right,
MP is a good one. So learning how to build a startup without being super technical. No Code Zone, I think, is also
right,
a website where it's like you can go from your idea to launch in 7 days, at least they say. And their tagline is kind of
right,
funny: no developers, no code, no
right.
no
It's a great
BS.
idea.
Yeah, yeah.
Right?
Um,
You want to validate, before you actually spend so much time and resources, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah, exactly. So
right,
before you spend time on or resources on getting an engineering team or a software engineering team, a developer team, there's so many great resources like this, like No Code Zone, like Google Sheets, like Coda, that you can use to
absolutely.
build a prototype.
Awesome, awesome, great. How about when it comes to like, features? Like, how do you go about determining like, what features to have on the first product? Or let's say after like, you're building it on Coda, you're like, okay, I'm building this app. What any tips on when it comes to feature development? Because what I see sometimes in startups, so I've been there, you want to have like 1,000 features on the first product, and that it turns out to be like, you get it and it's still bloated and nobody wants to use it. Do you have any tips on like in terms of feature development?
Yeah, I mean, feature development, at the end of the day, you have to see you can obviously try a bunch of different features. I think the best way is if you have a startup and you have a product and you have a few people using it, just getting their feedback about, hey, I'm thinking about introducing this new feature. Would you use it? And instead of building the feature out first, you might have 100 people and you contact all 100 and only two say, yeah, this is interesting. Then you know that this feature is probably not going to be that great. But if 50 people say, yeah, this would be really awesome if you added it, it would make your product so much cooler. That's how you can prioritize different
Right.
features to build versus just thinking about, hey, I think this might be interesting for my users or for my product. So I think contacting your users, your early users, your early adopters early on in the process and getting them involved is probably the best way to prioritize which features to work.
Right. Right. So talk to the users, right?
Yeah, that's always something you hear like
Right.
in a lot of startup like
Right.
forums and websites
That's
is always
right.
talk to your users.
Talk to the users. Get out of the building. The lean startup, right?
Yeah. I think a popular story I remember hearing is when Airbnb first launched, and
Right.
they're originally based in San Francisco, and one of their investors asked them, hey, what are you guys doing to get new users? And they said, oh, we're doing some building new features, and we're not sure if it's going to really work. And the investor asked them, where are most of your users? And they said, oh, they're actually in New York. And so he said, why are you still in San Francisco? And so
Right.
the next day they flew to New York and just talked to a bunch of their hosts on Airbnb and got their feedback, and they found out that having pictures was really important, and
Right.
the rest is history.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, go. You have to go where the audience hangs out, right? Or your potential users, customers, and yeah, Airbnb story is so inspirational too. And I remember watching their video. To keep themselves going, they had to sell cereals, like in the
Oh
beginning,
yeah,
right?
the Obama O's.
That's right. Yeah. So that was
Yeah.
very interesting. And even the Airbnb founder said, this was a way for them to kind of pay the bills, but not to be the main business. But they
Mhm.
didn't know. But it turned out to be by solving this problem became the main business. So very inspirational indeed. And what a success story, right? So,
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't suggest launching a brand of cereal to help
right.
fund your startup,
Right.
but if you have a passion for something like cereal
Right.
boxes, that could be one way to get
Right.
more funding.
That's right. Do whatever it takes, right? So keep
Yeah.
yourself going. Okay, great. So we talked about tips for non-technical founders. Let's talk about you wrote a blog post. Maybe we can have the link to that as well. I read your post on product development roadmap. So what are your what exactly is a product development roadmap, and how do you go about even looking into making one?
Yeah. So, kind of back to your question about what features to build. Once you decided the features, this a product roadmap is a way to help you also kind of prioritize, but more importantly, figure out like how much time you're going to spend building a specific feature. And this is probably more relevant for startups where you do have a small team
Right.
and you need to make sure that your developers and your product people and your marketing team, they're focusing on the right tasks. And let me just share my screen here. This is the blog post that Eric is referring to. Um, it's a really detailed blog post on how to build a product plan example or roadmap. And I actually have a video on how you can play the YouTube video if you want. But
Right.
I basically walk through what is a product plan roadmap. Here are 3 bullet points. Provides the guiding strategy for your product, details the work required for your product, and evaluate how new features and functionality impact the work that you plan for building the product features. And I'm not going to go through the entire blog post, but I kind of go through literally step by step how you can build this in Coda. So I put a lot of screenshots and formulas and stuff. But I think instead of doing this, I might just show you what the template looks like in Coda.
Sure.
So if you go to coda.io/templates, this is where we put a lot of our templates that you can pick up and use just for your startup today. You don't have to build everything from scratch. And if I can just search for roadmap, it'll come up. Here we go. This is the product roadmap. I'm gonna hit try demo,
Awesome.
and this is essentially the product roadmap template that one of my colleagues, John, built, which is super useful. And it's kind of like a source of truth for your product management organization. But even if you're a startup, this could be really useful because you're trying to figure out how to allocate your engineers or developers on different product features. So at the very basic level, you need to have a table of all the product features you want to work on. So maybe I want to say a new feature might be uh, new chat feature
I like
on
that.
founders beta.
That's right.
Yeah,
We need that, right?
I'm gonna delete this for now. Description is like, we want more members talking to each other. And let's say I give it a start date. I want to start, let's say February 6th, and then we'll go till, I think it's gonna probably take a month, so maybe we'll go till March 6th.
Right.
So this is a feature that we are adding. We were decided we're going to build this, and now we're putting it here to kind of keep a running log of all our features. And if I scroll down here, this is like again, the Gantt chart view. So now I can see
Right.
this chat feature here got put down here for Founders Beta. And I can see all these other features that are kind of stacked along this timeline of when they're being worked on. So I now have this feature there. And the next step is now figuring out how to plan who's going to work on what. And so this is the same table, but sorry, it's a little different table, but I have the feature here on the first column. This is getting a little into the weeds of the table. This is a
Right.
lookup to the feature roadmap table. And our feature roadmap table is right here.
Nice.
So our chat feature for Founders Beta should show up at the bottom here. Actually, where did it go? I think we might have to, let's see here. Oh, I have to actually select it, I believe. There we go. All right.
Awesome.
And now we have, so we have this feature that we're going to work on. We know the start date, the end date, but now I need to find who's going to work on it. So maybe I'll have an engineer work on it, and the effort, this in the product management realm, this could be hours, this could be story points. This is one way that people talk about doing product management, is how many story points it has.
Right.
So it's really just an estimation of how much time you think it's going to take. So maybe I think this will take 25 hours. And I also want to have a designer on board. So I might have a designer, and this might take 50 hours. And you notice how this is orange because we have conditional formatting on. So basically the condition is if the assignee is blank, we give it orange. So since this is the assignee column, and we didn't put somebody for the designer down here, it's orange. So I'm going to assign maybe my colleague John, and the orange goes away. So this is all the data entry you need to do for your product roadmap. Everything else beyond this, all the other sections below this product folder, these are all different ways you can visualize your data and then change things as things move along. Because when you're building a startup, it's great that you're putting all your data here and have start and end dates, but a lot of times, most of the time, dates change, things move around.
Right. That's right.
So this is one view of that whole product roadmap, which is looking at your roadmap by feature. So this is using the Gantt chart feature again, Gantt chart visualization. I can see now again all the different features, but more importantly, when I click on the drop down here, I can see who is working on it, and I have an engineer and a designer working on that specific feature in the roadmap, and I can quickly see all the data associated with that person. If you want to see the data by person, this is a different kind of view. So
Oh, wow.
this is this is if you have a bigger development team, you can see how much effort they are putting in across all different projects. So now I can see that Alden, he has 400 total effort. And this is, again, looking at the data from this entire table right here. It's just viewed as this chart from person. And so now I know that I need to not put Alden on too many projects because, or too many features
Right.
because
That's
he's
right.
getting overloaded. Whereas Jeremy, he could probably pick up some slack.
Right.
And it's color coded based on what feature they're working on at the moment. And this is just a table view instead of feature view. So you can quickly see, okay, John is working on the new chat feature and here's a start date and end date. And also this is also one of my favorite views is if you have a team, you want to see how their workflow looks like. I can see Betty is probably going to be done at the end of Q4 and she can start work something on Q1 and Q2. Whereas Krunal, he's basically booked all the way through Q2. And if I want to see what he's working on, looks like he's working on the bug bash. And if I click on this a little more, I can actually move this. I should be able to move this around. Actually, no, I guess I can't because they're grouped. But anyways, if you go back, if I go to this, I can't move that one around either. Let me see if there's one where I can move things around. This is probably the best one where I can show where if there's no kind of stack, you can actually move this around and it'll change the due dates in the main features table.
Right.
Yeah. And so this is just a way to quickly visualize all the different people that are working on your different features. This last view is by team. And so if you have engineers, designers, product managers, you can see now how many hours or how many story points that given team is working on. So we know that engineering typically is working on building a lot of features all at the same time. So they typically have a lot of effort. You can also see the total effort in terms of the number. And since we're putting this data into a table in Coda, you can write formulas here. So this is a formula that says total effort divided by the number of people. And the number of people is actually a hidden column here. So this is a number of people, and this is just counting the number of people in the column.
Right.
And so now I can see that the engineering team is definitely overloaded. They have 211 effort per person,
Right.
whereas product management, they're a little better work-life balance. They have,
Right.
yeah.
Right.
But this is the way a product roadmap could work if you're working on a bigger team. And there's all these other admin tables. This is more for administrative things, but all these things power the ability to look at your product roadmap like this, from a Gantt chart view to just a table view to really any view you want like this as well. And you can also limit it by, I think actually no, this is not. I don't think this is limited by date. Or oh no, I think it is actually. You can actually see just for specific dates what the number of hours or whatever people are working on. So yeah, that's kind of how you could do a product roadmap in Coda, and this is a really popular template for
Right.
those of you who are trying to do this kind of thing with your startup.
Awesome, great. Yeah, so we'll have the link on that on our document as well, so you can check out the product roadmap development. And yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to post there too. Okay, so let's talk about. Oh yeah, so we got the demo on the product roadmap. Okay, so we have a lot of members that are running remote teams. So remote team is happening everywhere, right? Like there's many startups in the beginning, they're remote, even for talent as well. Sometimes your talent might not be around locally. So what tips do you have, Al, for managing remote teams?
Yeah, well, I don't necessarily manage a remote team, but I'm a remote worker
Right.
for at Coda, and I think a few just good tips is just doing weekly and daily check-ins on Zoom. I use Zoom probably every day, and I'm checking in with my team, and just trying to, even for meetings where I'm not actively involved, I still like to listen and feel involved, and I think keeps me up to date on the knowledge that's being shared across the entire team if you're based elsewhere. So I think doing those check-ins is really important. And number two is documentation. So if you're working on a remote team, you probably are updating a Google Sheet with the progress that you have on different tasks, or you're updating a Trello board with your
Right.
tasks. Or if you're doing a startup, you might be requesting updates from your development team maybe in Europe or in Asia. And so I think having a good process around getting those updates, do they come every night, every morning, every hour even? Those are all really important things to help you stay, help your
Right.
team feel like as a group together. And there's also various templates on at Coda that you can use for updating your statuses and making sure that you are keeping up to date with your project.
Right. Oh, that's great. Because I think having that update and communication channel is so important. Also, like motivation wise too, for remote team, it's hard to kind of get that motivation. But I think with Zoom video and having that face to face interaction, besides Slack as well, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
I think those are some really great pointers. Awesome. How about you talked about this a bit in terms of project management, but like what are some tools, even on Coda, like what are some ways you recommend going about managing it?
Yeah, sure. I'll share my screen again really quickly here. And let's see here. Can you guys see the screen? Project Manager Starter Kit?
I think my screen went dark.
There. Let
Okay.
me try to share again.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Let's see if it works. Oh yeah, now it works.
Okay. So this
Awesome.
is another template in the template gallery. It's called Project Manager Starter Kit. So this is a really simple way to get started with, again, if you're working remote or if you're a project manager managing remote team members, this could be a good way just
Right.
to get your feet wet with managing updates. Uh, Similarly, we have a table of features with whether it's on track or all that kind of stuff. And so what's really cool is if you are a remote worker and you are working on this new product, whatever this task, you can just click on this button and say log an update. And you can say, we're on track with this update, and I just finished uh, writing some code for this task. And it's a really easy way to let your whole team know what's going on. And if I go down here, this is a table that shows a log of all the updates. And you can see this log right here is I just put this as a log for my team to see. And so they know that, oh, he put this update. He says it's on track. Great. So now the project manager knows that this is being up to date. So this is one way to get a log of updates from your remote team.
Right.
Another way in the same Coda doc, you could also have free-form project briefs. So this could be kind of like a wiki or knowledge base that any remote team member could use to see what that specific project is about. And so this is just free-form text that anyone can reference all in the same doc. And another big one is if you're going to be out of the office or taking vacation. I can say, oh, I'm going to be, instead of having to, ping on Slack, hey guys, I'm going to be out next week. I can just hit this button and say add a vacation. I'm going to take my vacation starting next Monday and I'm ending next Friday. This is definitely a little small. Let me filter this to just be, let's see, vacation end to be greater than, let's see, this might not work, but basically your vacation will show up on this kind of team calendar or team Gantt chart, so you can quickly see who's going to be on vacation. And this is also one way of getting kind of the team's overall feedback and reflection about how a product launch went. And the way you can do this is anyone during a meeting, you can log a question and say something like, I think we should have launched on Product Hunt, in January instead of February. And so this will show up down here as a question that can be asked during the team meeting. And you can actually vote. People can vote saying this was submitted by Al. Other people on my team can vote and say that they really like this question, or they can downvote. And now you can quickly see that this was the top question to answer for during the team meeting. And it's a way to kind of quickly get your team to crowdsource what questions to answer. And I wrote a blog post about this too, is whenever you do like a team meeting and the meeting kind of is starting to end and the team leader says, hey, anyone have any questions? And everyone raises their hand and it's like hard. Some of the questions are good, some of them are bad. This is a way to quickly crowdsource which questions to answer or ask for the team so that you guys aren't wasting time. And this really helps with a distributed team where, sometimes if you're on a team meeting and you're just one person and everyone else is in like another location and you
Right.
just want to raise your hand, but you feel weird because you're just the only person. So if you just log your question in a doc like this, people will upvote it and it might rise to the top, and then you'll know that that was an important question that everyone had on their mind versus feeling a little bit shy about asking the question.
Right.
So that's another good tip for remote teams to think about.
Excellent. Okay, great. It looks like we're getting some questions on the comment on the Facebook. So yeah, so we'll try to answer. If not, me and Al will do that after today's session. Okay, so I guess we got one more question to go. We talked about this a bit. How about things such as workflow operation? Using Coda. So like, are there any other templates you recommend on the site that would be useful for startups?
Yeah, sure. So in addition to the, I just hear my screen again. In addition to all the templates we've shown today, there are two rows of templates I really want to call out. One is called the pack enabled docs. One is called the automation enabled docs. The pack enabled docs, I already kind of mentioned this during the this whole live stream, is again, if you want to be able to connect your doc with other applications like Google Calendar, for instance, this is a really simple one that if you want to say quickly add a meeting on your calendar saying meet with TJ tomorrow 10 a.m., this button actually uses the Google Calendar pack to quickly add an event. So if I click on this button, it will add the event to my Google Calendar. So this is a way to not having to, I think I have to actually authenticate with Google Calendar. Oh, there we go. But basically, this is a way you can integrate your doc with a bunch of other services. So you're not copying and pasting, going between different tabs to simplify a workflow. So that's a really popular feature that people use to simplify their processes. The second thing is using automation. And the way this works is think about all the manual things that you have to do when you, let's say you updated a task and you want to let your team know that you updated the task. So normally you might update the task in a Google spreadsheet or a Coda doc, and then you have to copy and paste and put into an email and say, hey guys, I updated my task, check it out. Instead of doing that, we have a feature called automations. And these are kind of like really mundane, like menial tasks that you have to do that you don't want to do anymore. And so you can just have the robot do it. So for instance, this is a task where every Sunday at 2 a.m., this is a task that, let's see what it does here. It pushes a button. This is actually not the best example. Let me think about looking for a better one. Weekly task reminder. Yeah, this is a good one. So this happens every Sunday at 2 a.m. What happens is that every Sunday at 2 a.m., it sends an email. Let's see if I can, here we go. It sends an email to, in this case, Priyanka, or it could be like your entire team saying, here's our to-do list for the upcoming week. So instead of you having to copy and paste your to-do list into an email, you can just have this set up to run every week at 9 a.m., at 5 p.m., whatever, and it would send an email with, in this case, the weekly reminder. And the weekly reminder is this. This is the email that would get sent out to your team. Yeah, and it's all formatted. And let me see if I can actually set it up to, I might have to use, let's see if I can do this to work.
I think the best parts are the GIFs there, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh, actually, no, this is an automation. So I would have to wait till 2 a.m. on the Monday. But you could trigger this with an automation. You can trigger this with a button push. But the important thing here is that you don't have to worry about remembering to, hey, did I send that email on Monday? This will automatically do it for you at 2 a.m. or 9 a.m. on Monday morning. And it kind of removes that task from your workflow. So
Right.
that automations are a really powerful way to just get rid of all the manual crap that you have to do for your startup,
Right.
that really should be left for, you know, an assistant, or in this case for a for the robot to do.
Right. Very useful. Awesome. To improve efficiency in a startup. Because like you said, it's all about speed, you know? So awesome. Great. So I think, yeah, I think that's all the questions that we got for today. But Al, maybe you and I can check the Facebook comments after. But it
Yeah.
looks like there's some comments.
Yeah. Any questions that we should try to answer there?
Right. Let's see. What do we have? We have Drew asking what are your post beta plans. He's asking about the startup itself. Someone asking about more uses for beta, more uses for prototyping as well. So yeah. So we'll dive into those maybe after the live stream. But yeah, so for our audience, if you're looking to get connected, we have the special Founders Beta Coda link. So please use that up to sign up and give it a go. So, and lastly, Al is also on our coffee community as well. For all the NYC members as well, if you want to connect with Al, you can connect there as well. And if you have more questions, feel free to continue to post it on our Facebook group, and Al and I will do our best to go and answer all your questions. Yeah, Al, and for our audience, anything else, Al? Like, how do they get in touch with you? I think I mentioned that, but like, any other things you like to mention?
Yeah, no, in terms of getting in touch, I think one of the best ways is you can just email our team. It's just support@coda.io. And again, if you actually sign up with Coda and you have any questions using the special Founders Beta link, again, we're going to give you guys special priorities. So feel free to ask any questions when you sign up. And there's like a big giant help bubble at the very bottom right of your screen in Coda that you can ask questions to. And our blog.coda.io, I write there pretty frequently about building product roadmaps, about building any other kind of docs. And yeah, I guess if you want to learn more about Coda yourself, if you're more of like a self-paced learner and like Googling things, coda.io/learn has a bunch of great resources. And yeah, hopefully we'll do more of these in the future to talk more about startups and about product development and how to, go from to help you guys turn your startups into viable businesses and see where things can go.
Awesome. Great. So, well, Al, I'd like to thank you so much for the time and the opportunity to connect with our audience. And yeah, we really appreciate the effort today and helping the startups in the community to succeed and build world-class products. And starting with Coda, building MVPs and getting feedback. So I'm really excited. And yeah, I look forward to future collaboration and post. And yeah, can't wait. So
yeah, this is really fun. And for everyone listening, this was also, I think, both Eric and I our first time doing this. So
right.
definitely we'll try to make things better in the future if it didn't come out okay. But we're doing a little startup here ourselves of doing this live.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Right, that's right. So a startup helping other startups, right? Is that essentially? So,
Yeah.
So yeah, I think this format was a lot of fun. But yeah, and if you have any feedback, please let us know and let us know how we can help with your startup. And we have all the resources and the community to support and make it a success. So yeah, thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you guys next time. So Al, I guess we can end the stream now, and then I guess we can chat after. But yeah.
Okay.
Awesome. Okay,
Sounds
guys,
good.
we'll see you later. Cheers.
Bye, guys.
Bye.